Natalie Wood was one of Hollywood's brightest stars, a radiant figure who lit up the silver screen from a very young age. Born in 1938, Wood had a career that stretched over decades, charming audiences with her combination of girl-next-door innocence and undeniable talent. Films like Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story made her a household name and earned her a place among the greats. But behind the glamour was a woman with a complicated life, full of both triumph and heartbreak. By the late 1970s, Natalie's career had shifted somewhat, but she remained beloved, known as much for her enduring charm as for the tragic events that would later surround her. In November 1981, she embarked on what was meant to be a relaxing weekend aboard a yacht named Splendour, owned by her husband, Robert Wagner. Along for the trip was Christopher Walken, a rising star in his own right, and an actor who had worked closely with Natalie in the past. The three shared a complicated dynamic, tangled in friendship, rumors, and unspoken tensions. The yacht trip was supposed to be an escape, a chance to enjoy the crisp Pacific air and the beauty of Catalina Island, just off the coast of California. But what unfolded that weekend would become one of Hollywood's most haunting mysteries. Natalie would vanish that night under circumstances so strange and tragic. The story has fascinated and puzzled fans and investigators for decades. The official story was that Natalie fell overboard and drowned accidentally. But whispers of something more sinister quickly took hold. There were strange reports about what happened on board the yacht in those final hours, discrepancies in accounts, unexplained noises, and a tension that no one fully understood. The small circle of people on the Splendour suddenly became the center of intense speculation and rumor, and among them, Christopher Walken's name often came up. For years, Walken kept quiet about that night. He refused to dive into the swirling rumors or clear up the lingering questions. But now, decades later, Christopher Walken has broken his silence, revealing insights that shed new light on a tragedy that has haunted Hollywood and the public imagination ever since. This story isn't just about what happened on a yacht that cold November night. It's about fame and friendship, secrecy and sorrow. It's about how one fateful evening forever changed the lives of those involved and sparked questions that remain unanswered to this day. And it's a story filled with unexpected twists, emotional revelations, and a search for truth that is far from over. But that's just the beginning. What really happened that night? And what exactly did Walken say after all these years? The answers may surprise you, and they paint a picture far more complex than the official reports ever did. The night Natalie would vanish remains one of Hollywood's darkest and most mysterious moments. On November 29, 1981, the Splendour was anchored near Catalina Island, a quiet getaway spot just a short boat ride from the California coast. Natalie, Robert Wagner, and Christopher Walken had planned a weekend retreat, an opportunity to relax away from the spotlight. But as the night wore on, something went horribly wrong. What exactly happened remains unclear, even after all these years. According to official reports, Natalie disappeared around 11 p.m. It wasn't until the next morning that her body was found floating near the boat. The official cause of death was listed as accidental drowning, with alcohol intoxication possibly playing a role. But even from the start, inconsistencies made people suspicious. Some witnesses said they heard yelling, strange noises, or cries for help. Others reported that the water was too cold for someone to survive long if they fell overboard. The investigation that followed was frustratingly inconclusive. No one on the yacht could fully explain how Natalie ended up in the water or why she didn't come back. Robert Wagner was reportedly the last person to see her alive, but his version of events had gaps. Christopher Walken, present during the entire ordeal, remained largely silent, fueling further speculation. Over time, rumors spread about an argument between Natalie and Robert Wagner that night. Some reports suggested that tempers flared, and perhaps a struggle took place near the boat's railing. Others hinted at deeper tensions, old wounds in Natalie's marriage, jealousy, and secrets hidden beneath the surface. Adding to the mystery was the fact that the Coast Guard investigation was criticized for being rushed. Some felt that the case was closed too quickly, leaving many questions unanswered. Over the years, several new investigations were opened and experts revisited the evidence, but no definitive conclusion emerged. As the media frenzy intensified, various theories took hold. Was Natalie's death truly an accident, or was there more beneath the calm waves? Did someone on the boat play a role in her disappearance? And why did key witnesses like Walken remain so quiet for so long? The public was left grappling with a haunting question. How could such a tragedy happen on a peaceful night out at sea? The mystery only deepened as the years passed, turning Natalie Wood's death into a legend that Hollywood couldn't shake. But the silence wouldn't last forever. Christopher Walken's recent decision to speak out offers new pieces to this complex puzzle, challenging old narratives and reigniting the debate over what truly happened on that fateful night. And what Walken revealed next would shock everyone who thought they knew the full story. Christopher Walken and Natalie would share a relationship that, while never officially romantic, was layered with complexity and deep connection. They first worked together on the 1976 film Brainstorm, and from there, a unique bond formed, one that fueled rumors, speculation, and intense media scrutiny in the years that followed. Walken was known for his enigmatic charm, and Natalie's magnetic presence complemented us perfectly, creating a chemistry that went beyond the screen. Though neither ever publicly confirmed a romantic involvement, insiders and Hollywood gossip hinted at something more than just friendship. The two had a history of closeness that some believed bordered on intimacy. Walken, known for his guarded personality, rarely spoke about Natalie, especially after her tragic death. This silence only added fuel to the fire, as fans and reporters speculated endlessly about what really went on between them. In interviews before the tragedy, Walken spoke warmly of Wood, describing her as talented, vivacious, and fiercely independent. He admired her strength and spirit, qualities that made her stand out in a sea of Hollywood personalities. They were seen together often during the late 70s and early 80s, with many believing their connection was a deep friendship that might have crossed invisible lines. But beneath the surface, their relationship carried tension and complexity. Natalie's marriage to Robert Wagner was notoriously turbulent, and Walken's presence on that fatal yacht trip added an extra layer of intrigue. Some insiders suggested jealousy and unspoken conflicts brewed quietly, although no hard evidence ever emerged. For decades, Walken kept his distance from the rumors, refusing to add any fuel to the media fire. His silence was seen by many as respectful, a way to honor Natalie's memory without complicating the tragedy. Others, however, viewed it as evasive, leaving the public hungry for answers that never came. Walken's new statement changes that dynamic entirely. For the first time, he's addressing his connection to Natalie openly, shedding light on their relationship without the usual Hollywood gloss. He neither confirms nor denies the romantic rumors, but offers insight into the complicated emotions and moments shared between them. Understanding Walken's relationship with Natalie Wood is essential to grasp the full scope of that night on the Splendour. It wasn't just a tragic accident. It was a collision of lives intertwined by friendship, tension, and unresolved feelings. His words add layers to the narrative, showing that behind the Hollywood glitz, real people with real struggles were at play. And as Walken opens up, the story takes a turn that few expected, revealing cracks in the carefully constructed public story and hinting at truths that had long been buried beneath silence and speculation. But the silence around the tragedy wasn't just Walken's. It involved the entire circle surrounding Natalie, and what happened next only deepened the mystery. For decades after Natalie Wood's tragic death, Christopher Walken's silence was deafening. His refusal to speak publicly about that fateful night only intensified the swirling rumors and conspiracy theories. When key figures stay quiet, it creates a vacuum, one that the media and public rush to fill with their own versions of the truth. Walken's silence became one of the biggest puzzles in the Natalie Wood story. The media speculated endlessly. Was Walken hiding something? Was he protecting someone? Or was the truth simply too painful to share? His reputation as a private, enigmatic actor only added to the intrigue. In a world where celebrities often share every detail of their lives, Walken's choice to stay silent felt deliberate, almost like a shield guarding secrets that could shatter the fragile narratives around Natalie's death. Rumors varied wildly. Some claimed Walken and Wagner had a heated argument that night, something that might have escalated tragically. Others suggested Natalie was caught in a web of jealousy and tension between the two men. There were whispers about alcohol-fueled disputes, a struggle near the yacht's railing, even claims of foul play. Yet, no concrete evidence ever surfaced to confirm any of these tales. The silence extended beyond Walken. Robert Wagner, Natalie's husband, also remained largely tight-lipped, offering explanations that many found unsatisfactory. Their conflicting stories only deepened the mystery and left investigators with more questions than answers. Years later, new investigations reopened the case. Autopsy reports were re-examined, and some officials began to question the original findings. The cause of death, accidental drowning, came under scrutiny as details emerged suggesting possible injuries inconsistent with an accident. But with so much time passed and so many conflicting testimonies, uncovering the truth proved nearly impossible. Public fascination with the case never waned. The combination of Hollywood glamour, tragedy, and mystery kept the story alive in tabloid headlines and documentaries. Fans debated endlessly, each new revelation or theory sparking fresh waves of interest. Yet, the core questions remained. What really happened on the Splendour that night? And why did those closest to Natalie keep so much hidden? Walken's silence had become a symbol of that mystery, a refusal to break the code of silence that surrounded the tragedy. But silence can only last so long. And when Walken finally spoke, his words sent shockwaves through the Hollywood community and the public alike. What he revealed didn't just clarify details. It challenged everything we thought we knew, and that revelation would open a door to a darker, more complicated truth than anyone expected. After decades of silence, Christopher Walken's decision to finally speak about Natalie Wood's tragic night sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. For years, fans and media alike had wondered what he knew and why he chose to stay quiet. When Walken broke his silence, he didn't offer simple answers or neat conclusions. Instead, he painted a far more complex and human picture of that fateful night, one filled with regret, confusion, and painful memories. Walken's statement was carefully measured but deeply revealing. He described the atmosphere aboard the Splendour that evening as tense and fraught with unspoken emotions. He spoke of Natalie's struggles, both personal and professional, and the challenges that weighed heavily on her, including her tumultuous marriage with Robert Wagner. According to Walken, that night wasn't the carefree getaway many imagined, but a charged moment where old wounds and fears surfaced. Importantly, Walken denied any involvement in foul play or wrongdoing. He emphasized that Natalie's disappearance was a tragic accident, a heartbreaking event none of those present could have foreseen or prevented. Yet, he also admitted that certain moments during the trip were awkward and that emotions ran high. His account explained some of the inconsistencies that had baffled investigators and fueled rumors. Walken's openness also included an expression of sorrow and frustration at the lasting shadow the tragedy cast over everyone involved. He revealed how the silence, partly driven by a desire to protect Natalie's legacy and family, had instead bred suspicion and hurt. This honesty was unprecedented, offering a glimpse of vulnerability rarely seen in such a high-profile case. What struck many listeners was a subtle but powerful human element in Walken's words. He spoke not as a celebrity dodging questions, but as someone haunted by the past, someone who witnessed a heartbreaking loss and carried its weight in silence for too long. His voice, tinged with emotion, helped shift the narrative away from scandal and speculation toward understanding and empathy. Walken's revelation didn't end the debate, but it changed its tone. It reminded everyone that beneath the headlines and rumors were real people grappling with grief and guilt. His willingness to speak also opened the door for others close to the tragedy to come forward and share their perspectives. And while many questions still linger, Walken's candidness marked a turning point. It showed that after decades, the truth, messy, complicated, and painful, was finally surfacing. But even as Walken's words brought clarity, they also hinted at deeper layers yet to be uncovered. leaving viewers eager to learn what might come next. Christopher Walken's decision to finally open up about that tragic night does more than just satisfy curiosity. It changes how we view the entire story of Natalie Wood's death. For years, the narrative was clouded by silence, rumors, and unanswered questions. Walken's candid words crack open the door to a more nuanced understanding, inviting us to reconsider what really happened and why the truth stayed hidden for so long. Walken's account highlights the fragility of relationships and the complexity behind the Hollywood facade. It reminds us that fame and fortune don't shield anyone from pain, conflict, or tragedy. His description of the emotional tension aboard the Splendour, the unspoken struggles and fractures in Natalie's marriage, reveals that this was no simple accident, but a moment shaped by deeper, more complicated forces. Moreover, Walken's honesty challenges the quick judgments many people made over the years. Instead of villains and heroes, his words show a tangled web of human flaws, fears, and regrets. It's a story that isn't about assigning blame, but understanding pain. This shift matters because it turns a sensational tragedy into a deeply human one. Walken also indirectly critiques the way the case was handled. The rushed investigation, conflicting testimonies, and lack of closure all contributed to decades of speculation. His revelation suggests that if more transparency had existed earlier, many of the rumors might have been avoided, and healing could have begun sooner. On a broader level, Walken's break in silence sheds light on the burden of secrecy in Hollywood. Celebrities often face intense pressure to maintain perfect images, even when their lives are far from flawless. In this case, silence meant protection, but it also meant pain and confusion, both for those involved and for the public watching from afar. For fans and followers of Natalie Wood, Walken's statement offers a bittersweet form of closure. It doesn't erase the tragedy, nor does it answer every question, but honors Natalie's memory by treating her story with complexity and compassion. It encourages us to look beyond gossip and consider the people behind the headlines. And perhaps most importantly, it serves as a reminder that even the brightest stars can have shadows, moments of darkness that shape their lives in ways the world rarely sees. Walken's words pull back the curtain, showing us that tragedy isn't always simple, and truth often lies somewhere in between. As new conversations emerge and others step forward with their own memories, this story will continue to evolve. But for now, Walken's revelation stands as a powerful moment of honesty in a decades-long mystery, one that challenges us to rethink what we thought we knew. Natalie Wood's tragic death has haunted Hollywood for more than 4 decades, wrapped in mystery, rumors, and unanswered questions. But Christopher Walken's recent decision to break his silence offers a fresh perspective, one filled with honesty, complexity, and human emotion. His revelations don't provide all the answers, but they bring us closer to understanding the real story behind the headlines. This isn't just a tale of fame or scandal. It's a reminder that even those who seem larger than life face struggles, heartbreak, and pain. Walken's words show us the fragile truth beneath the glitz, inviting empathy over judgment. As the story continues to unfold and others come forward, we're reminded to look deeper, beyond rumors and speculation, and see the people at the heart of it all. Because sometimes the most profound truths come from moments of courage and openness, even decades later. If you found this story as compelling as I did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. There's always more to uncover, and I'll be here bringing you the stories that matter with all the twists and truths. Thanks for watching.